The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello and welcome to the Hoop Ball NBA DFS Today podcast. Today is Wednesday, December 11th, and we are going to be going over in depth the full 11-game NBA slate. Great contest across the industry. So let's get this rocking and rolling. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined with my number one partner in crime here, a very well-respected shark in the DFS NBA industry, Mr. Mike Apotria. How are you, Mike?
Coach, I miss you, man. It's been a few days, man. Whenever we get this long break between our shows, I go and look, and I'm just thinking to myself, I can't wait to see this guy in the chicken suit, and I start, getting mental images. I start missing you, so I'm glad we could do a show. I've been busy, man. Been crazy busy. Had to scale back some of my play over the past probably about week and a half or 2 weeks, just because simply, I've been so swamped with just day-to-day stuff, life stuff. Running around trying to take care of my little sister, bringing her to the doctor's appointments and school, and doing all this other kind of stuff. So I'm keeping busy, but I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm looking forward to it, especially on this 11-game card. This is going to be a fun one.
That's fantastic. Yeah, this might be the biggest gap we've had in doing a podcast together since the preseason started. So it's we can't let this happen very often, man. I was flying solo last couple of days, but glad to have you back, man. I missed you as well.
Glad to be back. It's also because we got this fantastic team now, Coach. I mean, when we were talking preseason, there was a 2-man show, and now we're talking about a few extra guys on board, and they really do take some of that load off. So if I need a day, or if you need a day, or whatever it may be, we know that we could trust this ship being guided by them. You know what I mean? These guys, I feel confident with their word, with their opinion, just as though it would be my own. So I love having them on there. And then a shout out to Miles, shout out to Andy over there in the forums, and shout out to Andrew. All three of them, absolutely great guys.
Everybody does a great job, man. And we have it. It's so nice, first year doing this 7-day-a-week coverage. And we're so fortunate to have those two, especially on-air NBA pros with this as well. This has been great, and I just want to give a shout out to all the listeners out there. We've been getting a lot more responses on Twitter, a lot of feedback, a lot of positive statements, a lot more people subscribing, rating, reviewing, just awesome stuff, man. This is what we were hoping would happen and take off, and it's going great. So we want to just keep giving winners out there, and I've got I had mentioned to you before the show, I've got a good sweat going. Hopefully, the folks listen to me Actually, I did the show this morning for today's card, and guys are doing really, really well so far. So that's exciting.
Absolutely, man. I know I had some similar plays. We were talking a little bit before on air about some of the high ownership, and it being a little bit surprising compared to some of the most recent slates. But it was a 4-game slate, and there was not too many priced up options, so everybody kind of had that mid-tier approach. And when you have some money left on the table, we've talked about it a bunch of times. People are going to spend it, and that's some way you could get your edge, just leaving a couple extra bucks on the table.
Yeah, you really, when you have the smaller slates, you can't, everybody thinks that, it's like real money, leave that couple $100 there. Don't worry about it. Play who you think's going to do well. There's no doubt about it. But, it's going to be fun. And hopefully I'll get to late night sweat this last game here when we get done with the show. We, as always, in general, do the show the night before, as our listeners know. So we'll be, giving you all the information that we have in front of us. And then, again, 3-step process. Listen to us in the morning on the way to work, at lunch, throughout the day. Start building that shell lineup getting, your thoughts in place, especially on an 11-game slate like this, and then listen to all of the news throughout the day on Twitter. Follow us, hoop-ball.com forums, follow that. And you got to really ride that stuff right down to lock. You can't afford any zeros on the board if you want to cash. And for the GPP players especially as well, you got to have those guys that are going to get in there and get the opportunity. So without further ado, we want to thank our presenting sponsor, Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee Company. Definitely used, really was appreciative of them using that coffee to good works this morning when I was doing that early show. A couple of good cups definitely got me through. So we appreciate them and their relationship with our mothership, hoop-ball.com. I saw a commercial yesterday, Mike, by the way. It was for a contest, something with one of the NBA teams, and it said, look us up on hoopball.com. So the actual hoopball.com without the dash, somebody out there scooped it up and is using it. How about that?
Yep. I suppose that does make a lot of sense with the hyphen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to find that person, man. I don't like that.
We are gonna have to find
give us our name back. And
I know. It's not cool, but so if you do go to hoopball.com, you're gonna see something else. Remember, we're hoop-ball.com, and always go. You can go there 24/7. Click on forums. Click on DFS thread, and that's where Miles, Andy, and then the four pros are always posting stuff up. They're constantly any player news, all that information that comes out. We're going to be flooding that on there all throughout the day. So, all right, first game on the slate, 7 p.m. start. It's an interesting one. Contrast of two teams for sure here. We have the Houston Rockets at 15-8 at the Cleveland Cavaliers at 5-18. We have the fastest paced team in the league in the Houston Rockets. They are number one, and the 24th paced team in Cleveland Cavaliers. So they are slow, and on top of that, they don't play defense. They are third to last in defensive team efficiency. The Houston Rockets are right dead in the middle at 15th in defensive efficiency. So that sort of gives you the lay of the land with the teams. What do you think about this Rockets side of the ball, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we got to talk about the big names being Harden, Westbrook. Harden, looking at DK's pricing, is up there now. He's 12-9. So it's not just the simple plug and play kind of, like when I'm building my GPP lineups, if Harden's on the slate, I know I'm getting a good amount of exposure, at least, probably 25 to 30%. It's going to be a little bit different for me on this slate. We have to factor in Cleveland's just god awful at basketball. They can easily get ran out of the gym in every situation in this. Westbrook has been getting a little bit more involved in the offense and has been looking much better as of late. I mean, I'm not as interested in playing him either, just because he is almost at 10K now on DraftKings. So this is a tough spot for me. I'll probably still have very slight ownership in Harden, but I plan on being underweight. And it's looking that way for a lot of these guys. If I'm taking anybody, it's probably going to be the ancillary pieces like a Daniel House. If you want to play Ben McLemore, he's too expensive for me at 5,400. But there's going to be some bodies out of this game. Tyson Chandler looks like he's going to be out, and so is Austin Rivers. So we can probably expect maybe Gary Clark as a nice dumpster dive play at 3K going against Cleveland. Game gets out of hand. I'll probably see an extra minute or two that way. So that's pretty much it for me on the Houston side. It's really just going to be like House and Clark as just a couple decent value plays.
Yeah, and it's tough, man, because, you expect this game to blow out, and it very well could. But, we know D'Antoni has been known to keep, Harden, Westbrook in the game, even up 30. So, it's definitely tough. I mean, Harden's price is sort of ridiculous at this point. I mean, you need the guy to go for, 64 fantasy points just to make value. I mean, It's hard. I'm not going to go there either on the Houston side. I do, I will look for the right guy, hopefully here, that's going to eat up Rivers minutes, because with Rivers being out, um, he's been playing 25 or 30 minutes. So, where does that go? Does it go to Macklemore? Does it go to Clark House? Maybe they split it up. It's difficult.
I think it goes. I think it's going to go to Clark. I mean, at the end of the day, he kind of phased out of the rotation once bodies started coming back. And then we look at that
Yeah.
game against Sacramento. He played 22 minutes in it. Coming off of his previous game that he actually even got any court time was 6 minutes or 6 games. I'm sorry, 6 minutes. 6 games prior to that one.
Okay.
Or 6 days. I'm losing my mind over here, Coach. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Clark. Don't be scared away by the eligibility on DK. Power forward and center eligible. He can easily slide over to the wing as well. He's not, even probably should be power forward or center eligible at this point. It's just the way that the Rockets use him.
And I'll tell you what, I'm gonna throw a name out there that I'm gonna use in my GPP build for the Houston Rockets. Chris Clemens, and I'll tell you why. I know it's extremely gutsy, and it could backfire, but if this game script goes the way I think, a guy like Clemens, who can shoot the eyes out against a backcourt of Cleveland that doesn't defend in a game that could blow out, if Clemens can get in there and get 20 minutes or so, he can put up 25 fantasy points at minimum pricing. So just a name to throw out there, not for cash, but for GPP. That could be a nice little find. But I'm not going to go in the big spend up here. I think if you go with Harden or Westbrook, there's just so much risk with this game blowing out, and Cleveland being such a slow-paced team as well. That's not going to help matters. As far as the Cleveland side of the ball, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's, again, if it blows out, they're going to play a bunch of people. They use 4 guards right now in a rotation as it is. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't want anybody on the Cleveland side, which makes this game somewhat, unplayable almost. What about you?
I'm not touching that side of the ball at a 10-foot pole right now. I never touch the backcourt. The only thing I could rely on earlier in the season was the front court, but knowing that they got Kevin Love on the chopping block right now, there's no incentive for them to run him out there big minutes and take a chance of him injuring himself and having teams pull their offers. I know they're looking at the Trailblazers. He wants to go to a contender. The Blazers and the Celtics probably being the best suited teams of his choice.
Yeah.
So until that trade eventually does happen, I'm kind of steering clear, and just I generally don't look to target centers. With Tristan Thompson going against Houston as it is.
Yeah, and it's just too risky, really. I mean, there's no need on with 22 teams lacing them up really to even have to try to take a shot at the Cavs. So I'm with you. Plus, it's the first night of a back-to-back for Cleveland on top of everything else. So yeah, it's that whole game looks like there's so many things that can go wrong. It's better just to run the other direction. That's what I think. So let's move on to game 2, another 7 p.m. game. It is the Boston Celtics at 17-5, which is a tremendous record for them, and the Indiana Pacers at 15-9. So a nice competitive ball game here for the Boston side. Robert Williams has already been ruled out, so they'll mainly be going with a combination of Tice and Canner at center, except for when they go small, and run a little bit of a small lineup there. And, the big news on the Boston side is Marcus Smart is questionable. And that's, he's such a difference maker in a ball game, mainly with his defense. So it affects the Indiana side more than anything, I think, with Marcus Smart being questionable. And Boston is also on the first night of a back-to-back 2 road games in a row where they'll be traveling. So that makes it a little bit tougher. I believe Indiana is at full capacity there, which also brings up a tough thing with the Pacers having some depth now and so many people contributing. They're a little bit tougher to play also. As far as pace goes, it also isn't a super palatable game with them being the 21st and 22nd ranked pace teams in the league. They definitely both like to defend, and they both like to run a good half-court defense. Offense. So, the possessions are going to be limited, and they're also third and ninth, respectively, in defense. So you've got two really good teams here, a really fun game to watch. But for me, the way both of these teams can defend, especially if Marcus Smart gets factored in, I'm going to pass it to you to go through this game. But I can just tell you from my side of the coin, I respect these teams both defensively. They both have weapons that, share the ball. And I'm not going to roster anybody from this game. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Mike, to walk through the Boston and Indiana side.
All right. Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Both teams are, absolutely studs on defense. But I also think that there's both teams, as good as they are on defense, they do have their areas of weakness. With Boston, theirs being the front court, especially without Robert Williams, they're going to have to rely on Canner and Daniel Tice to kind of match up against this other combination of Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner. So I expect both those guys on Boston, both centers. We might even have to see them play alongside of each other. I'm very curious to see how they decide to combat Sabonis. I don't think that Tatum will get it done. I don't think Hayward would be able to get it done defensively. So for that reason, I'd have interest in those two guys as value plays, and I'd also be looking at Sabonis on the other side in that mismatch. I think 8,200 on DK is still a fair price tag. He's been smashing. Yep. He's the definition of consistent with this guy. You can pretty much night in and night out feel confident in like a floor of like a 37 to 40 point on DK. So I have no problem rolling him out there. And then just basically looking at the value and then possibly a little bit of Gordon Hayward. Other than that, I'm not paying the price tags on Jaylen Brown, Kemba, or Tatum until we see them come down and kind of get into where the normality of with Gordon Hayward back in that lineup. We got to remember this guy was garnering a high usage at the beginning of the season, and these guys, Jaylen Brown was basically on the outside looking in when Hayward was playing.
Did you see the night before last that they made a mistake when on the Hayward game when he came back? They had him
3K.
Stone min.
I'll believe Coach. I was all over that.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, that was such a free square. It was unbelievable. I was surprised they made that error, but I see they've corrected that.
They won't let that happen. We get one of those once in a while, and sometimes you have to be like, you don't overthink those. Don't get cute, especially in GPPs, and think, well, everybody's going to be playing them. Is it the edge? There was no edge in fading a guy that should be priced at like 5-6K, and he's priced at 3. Fading a guy like that will not help. If you
didn't play 100% Gordon Hayward 2 nights ago, then you need to rethink your strategy, whether cash or GPP, because when you get those free squares like that, you've got to take them.
Yeah, the edge was playing him 100% of your lineups.
No doubt about it. I love your take on Sabonis. Sabonis is 100% in play here, especially, the fact that Boston does struggle against the front court. I respect Brad Stevens. I think he's one of the 3 best coaches in the NBA. And I've got to think he's going to come up with a scheme of some sort to either double him at the post or try to keep the ball out of his hands. They've got to do something because they don't have the right guy to match up with him. And I would say Sabonis is the type of a guy that could be a cornerstone play for you to build your lineup around. And I would love to recommend him to do that. But I have so much respect in Boston and the way they can defend and Stevens' defensive schemes that I'm just a little concerned that they're going to come up with something to try to take the ball away from him, because really Turner hasn't even been a smidgen of a threat offensively in the last 3 weeks or so. So you've got to think they're going to try to push the ball away from Turner, from Sabonis. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, that would be the smart move. I just don't know who they're going to send at him, because if they said, I hope they send Canner.
Maybe a double, though. Maybe a double. You know?
That could be. It could be, but at the end of the day, they have enough guys on the outside with Jeremy Lamb, T.J. Warren, and Brogdon that could knock down a three ball. Where
Yeah.
they'll be paying for it, and eventually they're gonna have to pick their poison. Do they want to get beat with wide open jumpers, or do they want to take their chance and with Canner or Tice on the block with Sabonis here and there? And Sabonis can stretch the floor a little bit too, so he can score in multiple ways. Like I said, it's just been consistency with him all season. He's averaging 43 DK points per game, and he's 8,200, and it's a plus matchup for him. So, and just any other matchup, he's pretty much hitting his 5x just on his season average, and I think we have the room for probably an extra 5 or 10 points just given the matchup. So it's there. We saw the upside last game with the 22 rebounds. He could do it.
And I very well may go to Sabonis, as time goes here, just because I think you're right. I think, I know Boston's 17-5, but this is like the worst matchup for them. Like they can match up against Milwaukee and Toronto, but this Indiana matchup with Sabonis and Turner, and then, like you said, being able to have Brogdon and Warren and Lamb spotting up, man, this really creates difficulty for Boston. And maybe Sabonis is the guy that smashes the slate. It could very well happen. All right, good stuff. Let's go to Game 3, another 7 p.m. Eastern game. It is the Los Angeles Lakers at a gaudy 21-3 against the Orlando Magic at 11-12. You've got a pace for Lakers right in the middle of the pack at about 14, and Orlando the second slowest team in the league. So it's going to be a pace down game for the Lakers. Defensively, also, there's a definite red flag here. Lakers being the fourth best defensive efficient team in the league, and Orlando has climbed all the way up to 10th. They've actually moved up since Vukovic has been out. Kem Birch getting it done, and Mo Bamba getting it done defensively. And then, we know the rest of their guys, can definitely D it up. So you've got two good defensive teams. You've got, the best offensive team in this with a major pace down. It definitely creates some issues here. What's your take on the Lakers side of the ball?
This game's kind of ugly for me, Coach. I don't know what side of the coin you're gonna be on with this one, but Avery Bradley's gonna be back on the Lakers side of the ball. He's gonna expect to be have a minutes limit capped at about 20 minutes, but that's gonna impact some of the value that we were getting in guys like Caruso. Even if Rondo does manage to play, he's questionable. It would cut into his minutes as well, so it kind of takes him off the table. So I'm back to not playing anybody but the stars. If you want to look at LeBron and Davis, both those guys are very much in play. I mean Davis has been playing much better lately. This matchup I'd probably prefer LeBron, but at the end of the day, I don't think I'm going to have too many shares in either one of them.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's a tough call. I mean, it's sort of nice, deciding not to pay up for Harden, Westbrook, or LeBron Davis. It allows you to, and I haven't done that too much. It seems like the way this year has gone with Luka and James and Davis and these guys, it's almost like I seem like to build stars and scrubs lineups on all these bigger slates because you can't leave those guys out. But I'm with you. I mean, I think Orlando can slow the pace down, slow the possessions down, and create a situation where, it's going to be hard for LeBron and AD to, smash the slate. Now, it's tough, though. I mean, you don't want to miss the right spot on these guys. But as far as the Lakers go, I would have liked to have gone to Caruso, but I know Rondo is listed as questionable right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's questionable. Avery Bradley will play.
Yeah, so, I mean, that definitely cuts into Caruso. That makes it such a risky play. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to dial anybody up for the Lakers. What about on the Orlando side of the ball?
It's just going to be such a tough defensive assignment for him. I mean, in a real life basketball standpoint, I'm really excited to see Jonathan Isaac versus Anthony Davis. Those two guys as star-studded defensive players. I feel like I get to see them both jumping up in the air and just smacking the ball in between them, and then just the world stopping and the ball's freezing like one of those kind of old Dragon Ball Z moments kind of thing. But I'm not really trying to
Is that
pinpoint.
a Pokemon
No, coach, don't date
No,
yourself
okay,
like
sorry.
that.
Well,
No,
yeah,
that's like
yeah.
an
No,
it
no, sorry.
started in like I believe.
Dragon Ball Z, I remember that now too. My
Yeah, I think it
son
was
followed
like
it.
maybe
Okay,
like
sorry.
early or mid '90s, something like
Yeah, I
'94,
thought
something
you were
like that.
pulling a Pikachu on me here. I didn't want to get out of control with this.
No, no, coach, not me, not me. No, I did like my cartoons growing up, though. A big cartoon guy. I could sit here and talk cartoons for days.
Oh
But
God.
no,
So no magic at all, huh?
nah, I'm not, it's tough. I don't really want to pinpoint them. I mean, if you want, they're priced fairly. I will say that. Looking at Isaac's price 6,200, Gordon's price fairly at 65, and Fournier at 64. But we know that they all have that kind of volatile floor as well. So if you're targeting any of these guys, I'd only probably like to do it in GPPs. I don't think that they're safe in this matchup for cash at that price tag.
Yeah.
And then I'm not really seeing the upside in GPPs as far as Fultz at 5,500. I haven't really seen that 40-point ceiling from him really, so I don't really want to spend up on that. I think that we'll have some better of the mid tier price guys that we could get to later.
Yeah, and I think Fournier would have been a good play, but with Bradley being back, even if he plays 15, 20 minutes, he's probably going to stone him for that period of time. And then the Danny Green can play on him as well. So, yeah, boy, I'll tell you, I really don't like anybody from this game either. So I don't know, man. Again, not going to have anybody on the squad here early on. It's crazy.
We don't
Maybe
need to
I will
force it.
coast the bonus.
We don't got to force it. We got 11 games, coach. So if
Yeah.
there's a slate where you want to be picky and you want to be choosy, this is the type of slate that we could do it. I mean, at the end of the day, this Lakers team has been unstoppable so far this season.
Yeah.
They've been one of the top defensive teams. We know the Magic like to slow it down, like you said. If you look at Anthony Davis's past two amazing games, look at the totals of those games.
Ridiculous.
I would not expect this game to have a similar total as those two. I mean, I could be wrong. We'll wait and see. But it's just not the type of game, the game script that I really want to target. Because even if I'm playing one of those stars, I don't really want to run it back with anybody on the other side that badly. It's not like
it is risky. There's no doubt about it. But I'll tell you, it's going to be painful. We're going to roster these line. Like for right now, I roster my lineup, and then I got to sit there for an hour and watch. The Beard and Westbrook and AD and LeBron. I'm going to be like 100 points behind before I can blink.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be chasing. You know what, though? It's going to be fun. I like going to bed on those nights where, you still have like two guys more than the average person left going into the late game or whatever it may be. And you wake up and it's like a surprise.
Sleep? If I have a guy live, I can't sleep. I got to watch.
80-hour work weeks can knock me out at any given time right now. I've been grinding over here between everything over here, hoop ball, the day-to-day job, doing a little bit of the side, and like I said,
you're a monster, man. Hey, it's better than the days we used to do shows after you bartended all night.
Absolutely,
we did like a 4 a.m. show.
Hey, listen, that's why I tell people I speak the truth when I'm talking about Hawaiian Alice Kona coffee. It is literally the one thing that keeps me going, man. I don't know what I would do without those guys because their blends, their brews. The first thing I look forward to right when my eyes open up, I slide out of bed and I'm getting that thing going as fast as possible.
Yeah, we need to set up a Hawaiian Isles like slow drip intravenous connection for you, dude.
Get me one of those. I'll wear it like one of those old hats with the the beer cozy hats.
With the double sipper there.
Yeah, I'll just wear one of those. Just walk around.
Now you're talking my language. That's for sure. At the Barnoculars, we used to sneak those into the games. You know what those are?
Yeah, oh yeah, coach.
Yeah, you got the two vials there where you're. That's the way to do it, man. If you haven't dialed those up for our young listeners, look up the double sip cup hat with the two cans, and you look up the Barnoculars. You'll be all set for your next game. All right, we're way off pace here with an 11-game slate. So we go to the fourth game out of 11, which is a fourth 7 p.m. game, and this is definitely the game I'm going to watch. Not particularly load up on my DFS squad, but this is a true great basketball game with a lot of intrigue. We've got the LA Clippers at 18-7 at the Toronto Raptors at 16-7, and the return of Kawhi Leonard and his beaming personality to Toronto with the tributes and all that stuff. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun game to watch. He's such a cyborg. Who's to know if this is going to affect him enough at all, or if it's going to affect his game. We do know that Jermichael Green is doubtful in this game. We also know that Fred Van Vliet, which is the big news, is questionable. So if he doesn't suit it up, it changes everything. And, it's certainly tough to dial Lowry up with obviously Pat Bev defense. But this is such a great game, man. I can't wait to watch it. It's interesting though. It's not like we have slow teams here. Clippers are playing at the seventh fastest pace, so even though they're getting a lot of it off of their defense, and it's pushing their transition, they're moving. And Toronto's 13th, so it's odd to see two fantastic defensive teams with that high a pace. But again, a lot of it is defensive oriented. They're getting steals, tips, deflections, and they're using that to run the floor. And defensively, as you would expect, Clippers 7th, Toronto 5th. So you've got two great teams, and two great coaches, two top 5 coaches for sure in Doc and Nurse. So great game. What do you got on the Clip side, Mike?
So obviously the narrative in Kawhi Leonard is what's really putting him into play for me. 8,700 is a fair price tag. The only thing we generally worry about with Kawhi is the minutes. I mean, if we look at his game logs, he hasn't been really playing more than 30, 32 minutes unless it's absolutely necessary. But this is a close matchup. Should be a tough game, and they're probably going to need a minute. So I would definitely prefer him all over Paul George. So he's kind of taken Paul George out of the picture for me at very similar price tags. But one guy that's kind of drawing my attention is Lou Williams at 59. I just think that's a little bit too cheap. Like I said, this is going to be a competitive game. In these competitive games, we can expect him to take a couple more shots. And the shot attempts have actually been there for Lou Will. It's just he has been knocking them down at the rate that he generally would. 19 in the last game. Yes, I believe, we're talking about some of these games with Leonard being out, but then 17, 13, 14, all the shot attempts are there. He just hasn't been able to knock down anything. So law of averages, he'll correct himself eventually. At 5,900, I definitely have some interest in GPPs in him. So between just Leonard and Lou Will, those would probably be my main guys I'm looking at. I think I don't like going back to the Beverly Will. I got the good game I wanted out of him last time. I don't feel like that's something I need to really try to go back to the well and chase points on that. So for the 500 difference, give me Lou Will over him.
This is the first one that we're really different on. I'm taking the opposite approach on the Clippers side. I really like Paul George. He's playing great ball. He's getting good minutes. I think he's a little bit of a tougher matchup for Toronto because they're going to put Siakam all over Kawhi. And this is a game where Siakam gets to prove that he's the new Kawhi there. And I think he's going to step up to that challenge and try to really jam Kawhi. And I think, I know Kawhi's not really a guardable guy, but I think Siakam can give him enough trouble that they're going to need Paul George to step up and have a big game. And I think he will. So I love Paul George in this game at the price he's at in a competitive game that both teams get up and down the floor. And he's going to be one of my foundational guys, believe it or not. And I think I'm going to get him fairly low owned because, teams are going to, be talking up. The owners will be talking up, the whole Kawhi thing. And I think he may slide under the radar. So that's my take. And the guy that I'm going to focus on the Clippers side. What do you have on the Toronto side?
So we spoke about this a little bit before. We're going to have to keep an eye on Van Vliet's news. He banged knees, I guess. I didn't even know what happened in the Rockets game. Shout out Josh Lloyd, another, very, very reputable fantasy analyst. He's great. He works over at Basketball Monster. Been listening and following him, good friends with him for quite some years. I wouldn't, had the opportunity to work with him for a little bit in the past too. So he's the one that kind of mentioned that, and I saw that. So I didn't even know what happened in that game. I kind of assumed it happened in the last game. He left after 12 minutes. Or 2 games ago, sat out the last game. So Norman Powell probably the biggest beneficiary with him at 5,200. Though it's just there's not that much juice left on the bone for me. It's not a bad
Okay.
play. It's going to be, playing shooting guard. I guess if that's one of the positions of weakness you want to target against the Clippers, it's the front court.
Right.
It's maybe shooting guard. Those are the
Yep.
two that you could look at. So I'm not going to knock you if you do want to play him. He's just not going to be like a foundational piece of mine.
Yeah, I love Van Vliet. I think he's so important to that team. If he's out, that usage factor goes, to Siakam, but Siakam's going to be guarded by Kawhi, and when he's out, he'll be guarded by George. So, I don't think personally I want to play Siakam because I think he's going to be focusing on the defensive end, to not let Kawhi show him up. But I think if Van Vliet doesn't play, I think Powell will get 38 minutes or so. And at that price, I think it's fair. And so if he sits, I'm going to dial up Powell. If not, I don't think I'm going to go anywhere else on the Toronto side, for the reasons that I stated. So
That makes. I
anything
mean,
else on that game?
no, and I was going to say that makes perfect sense. I mean, at the end of the day, like you're more of that cash game type player, so you would be happy at
Right.
5,200 to get 25 or 30 from him. That would be perfect. When I'm looking at a guy at 5,200, I want to kind of hope that or know that he has that upside to get a little bit over like that 32 to 35 threshold where I'm getting that good 7-8x out of him. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get 8x out of Powell in this matchup. I don't think he's going to be able to have that 40-point upside.
Well, he put a 50 burger on the board a couple of games ago, so he's got the potential to do it. But again, you got to follow the Van Vliet news because that completely changes everything on that side of the ball for sure. Kyle Lowry's been strong too. I mean, he's such a gutsy player, but I refuse to play anybody when Pat Bev is guarding him. I just won't do it. It's too tough to watch because he gets up in everybody's business and drives them nuts. So not somewhere I'm going to go. So all right, excellent. We finally get to move on to a 7:30 game. So we got 4 games starting, right? The good thing about the 4 games starting at lock is that we will get news. That's 8 teams we know will at least have the starting lineups and news on, so you can't get crushed on that, especially with Marcus Smart, Rondo at a little lesser extent, and then Van Vliet. So definitely something to keep an eye on. All right, the first 7:30 game is the Charlotte Hornets at 10-16 against the Brooklyn Nets at 13-10. Watched most of the Charlotte Hornets game tonight, and it was a hard-fought, down-to-the-wire game that they pulled out against the Wizards at the very end. So, now they have to get on a plane, get to Brooklyn on a second night of a back-to-back. Not very conducive for the Charlotte side of the ball for sure. We've got Charlotte at the 26th fastest pace, which they play the Wizards, who don't play any defense, and they still slowed it down a little bit. So definitely a pace down game for Brooklyn. They are the 8th fastest team. So, it will be a little bit more possessions for Charlotte, but that might be waylaid a little bit by them on a back-to-back. Defensively, Charlotte is second to last in the league. Only the Wizards are worse. And, again, they may have some tired legs. Not a great thing on their side, but a good thing for Brooklyn. Brooklyn 16th defensively, so just slightly below the middle of the pack. I think in this game we know, obviously we still are no Kyrie. I think Dinwiddie is a monster play. He is a plug and play for me. He will be manning the point for me here. Not to steal your thunder, but I just wanted to throw that out there. I love Dinwiddie in this game. So what do you think about the Brooklyn side? Are you on the Dinwiddie bandwagon with me?
Absolutely. I've been riding that train since this began, and there's no reason to get off. They kind of keep him floating around that high 7s, low 8 price tag, and that's basically been what his average is. So, I mean, it makes you feel comfortable about cash games, knowing that you have the security of his floor, and we've seen him have plenty of big games this season already where I know in GPPs I can look for that upside in there as well. So, yeah, definitely Dinwiddie, and I'm also going to be looking at Jared Allen. He's
Yeah.
really starting to look just a lot better. At 6,800, it seems like it's a high price tag, but this guy's been producing night in and night out. The rebounds have been there. He's been on this double-digit rebounding streak for quite some time, and he's already smashed Charlotte in the mouth 2 times this season. In only 24 and a half minutes average so far in the 2 games they played, he's getting about 41 DK points. So I have no problem going back to the well with Jared Allen as well. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I was playing a little bit of Garrett Temple here and there, but at 5,500, not enough juice left on the bone for me in that. So that's all I got for Brooklyn.
Yeah, just one word of caution a little bit on the Jared Allen take. I was very surprised tonight to see that Bismack Biyombo started and played a lot more minutes than Cody Zeller. Zeller came off the bench. He wasn't hurt or anything. They just decided to go that route. And I can tell you right now, Bismack Biyombo is 3 times the defender that Cody Zeller is. So I think that they definitely will probably go to that well again, just so that Bismack can play against Jared Allen. And I think that'll slow Allen down a little bit, and his price has gone up. Just a little word of caution there. And then, even to the extreme of the other flip side, Bismack's a good play. He's super cheap. And we say it every show, centers against Brooklyn seem to do extremely well. And, he's a double-double machine when he gets the minutes. And I think he's going to get them, especially with this matchup. And that's the one guy that I really like on that side of the ball. On Charlotte's side of the ball, too, them being on the second half of back-to-back, Devontae Graham was just an absolute monster, really pulled the game out for Charlotte against the Wizards tonight. I think he'll be a little gassed. And I really don't trust anybody else on the Charlotte side other than, may dial up a little value play in Bismack. You got any on the Hornets?
For me, the Hornets, I'd probably just be looking at, like you said, Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier. But even then, when I look at Graham's price tag, yes, it's a solid matchup. 8,300 though on a back-to-back, $100 more. You can get Paul George, like we were just talking about those guys in the previous game. So I don't think I'll be able to spend up on him in this. Rozier at 7,100, I think that makes a little bit more sense if you wanted to try to get some action in this game.
Still not cheap, though,
No, it's not cheap. But, I mean, we've seen him. It's not the same Terry Rozier at the beginning of the season where we were kind of questioning, why the hell did they bring this guy in? Like, what is he doing? This guy Devontae Graham's so much better. Devontae Graham still looks much, much better, don't get me wrong. But I've seen Rozier string together enough of those 35-plus point performances where I would keep him in my player pool. It's more or less a lot to do with the matchup as well.
A good GPP, I guess, shot.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely not. I mean, at 7,100, we have plenty of other safer options you can go to in cash or along the board. And that's it. The thing about Biyombo with me is I want to know that he's getting the minutes. Absolutely. If I knew Biyombo was playing even 24 minutes, 22 minutes, guaranteed, I'd have absolutely no problem loading up on him and paying the 3,700 and taking some stabs at him. But it's a wishy-washy situation where right now I don't have that confidence in him. They're splitting minutes off the bench. He played 14, 15, and 18 over the past 3 games, and that's just not enough for me to really kind of want to invest too much in him.
Dude, you got a DFS pro here, coach, telling you he's a cinch 24-plus minutes. You got to dial them up.
I'll play one for that, and I'll also do a chicken soup bet on that in a little bit.
Oh, my God, absolutely, dude. Let's get that.
Let's just do that right there. How about that? 24.
I need a chicken soup win. Sure.
Set to 24 points. So if he gets under 24, I win. 24 or over, it's all you.
Oh, my God, that's such an easy victory. Thank you, sir, for letting me take the lead back. I think we are 4-4, correct? We're 4-4?
Well, it depends if we count that other one, because I'm pretty sure maybe one of our listeners can remember the last time we were on there. I know we did 2 in one night. The Berea one, I remember that one vividly.
I remember that one, and I know that was a disaster. And so
I can't remember the other one. I remember celebrating.
I can't remember the other one either. So I'm hoping our listeners don't, because I would be happy just to be a draw on that one. I'll tell you what, I'll give you that one. If somebody knows the second one and they want to send a tweet, then I will respect that. If not, I refuse to take a loss if we can't remember what it was. Although I got a sinking feeling that it wasn't a good thing for me. I just got that gut feeling. But let's hope nobody remembers.
Yeah, please remember for me. Coach already shafts me out of points left and right as it is. Let me.
I have to push and pull anywhere I can to stay in the lead here, and I know Bismack is going to lead me back to the lead. So I love it.
Hey, wouldn't shock me if it does. At the end of the day, this is just a fantastic matchup. And I think last time I talked to you about a cheap center around this price tag going against Brooklyn. It burned me.
Yeah, that was
Mr. Old JaVale.
I know. I don't even want to go there. All right, dude. Game 6, a little bit over the halfway point. The first 8 p.m. Eastern game. You've got the Atlanta Hawks at the Chicago Bulls. Atlanta was in a hard-fought battle when we jumped on this show in the fourth quarter. They were actually beating the Heat by 4. Not sure how that one turned out, but so they played the Heat, and now they will be on the road tonight for a game at Chicago tomorrow. They obviously played all their key guys big minutes because it was a hotly contested game. So definitely something to be concerned about on the Atlanta side. Atlanta is the 10th fastest pace, Chicago 12th. So you've got two pretty quick teams that'll have some extra possessions for sure. Atlanta, obviously not a good defensive team, 26 with Trae Young and company, not getting it done on that side of the floor. Chicago, on the other hand, is also 12th defensively, so above average, not too bad across the board with some of their guys defensively. So interesting game. I think you can maybe pluck out some slate changing guys here, or you could sync with some of these guys. So it could be a shifting game here in some of the results tomorrow. What do you think about the Hawks on the second leg of a back-to-back?
So obviously we'll start at the top with Trae Young at 10-3. I've been perfectly fine with paying that price tag. I've been okay paying that price tag as of late, just knowing all the production. I mean, the guy's, I think he's averaging like 28 or 29 actual points on the season, and the assists are there for him. He's always hitting threes. He gets a couple. I think he even gets like 3.5 or 4 boards as a guard. So he's been doing it. I just don't want to pay that price tag in this matchup. Chicago's actually been very good at defending opposing guards. A lot of it has to do with Chris Dunn now that he's in the starting lineup as well. So I'm okay with kind of just going away from Trae Young in the second half of a back-to-back shooter's legs kind of thing, and with a tough matchup. And we have to also monitor, Kevin Werder, it being a back-to-back. He's been having his minutes limited. We got to see how that affects him, whether he sits or not, or if he just, maybe gets it dialed back a little bit. And if he does sit for any sort of reason, then I think that we can go and look at, Reddish and Bembry as some decent value plays in this matchup. So that's kind of the way I'm approaching the Hawks. I almost missed over something very obvious, Coach.
Yeah.
Jabari Parker is going back to Chicago.
Ooh.
Jabari Parker's from Chicago.
And Jabari Parker does not like the Bulls at all.
So there's our narrative. Maybe that's something that we need to look at a little bit more. 6,100, he's been, I kind of like that, Coach.
I think Jabari Parker needs to be the narrative play of the night. I'm with you, man. I know he does not like them, and, this could be a chance. He definitely, when he gets motivated and steps it up, he makes, he can really smash values. So I'm with you on that one. Great point, great catch. I think that that's a great play, actually.
Yeah, I almost glanced right over it. And it's, being a guy, I always try to find all the narratives, and then I dissect it afterwards. Like, tell me any narrative. I don't care if this guy spilled, ice cream on the ground, looked up, and the bird, crapped on his head, now he's got good luck. Whatever it may be, I'll take it into consideration, and I'll decipher later whether or not I think it's real. And when a guy's going back to, the city he's from, maybe where he played college ball.
And hard feelings against that team.
Hard feelings. I mentioned it earlier. Anytime Dragic plays his Suns, I'm looking at him. Anytime they have those hard feelings, they're definitely going out there and they're trying to prove a point. If it doesn't speak volumes, look at Paul George, what he just said in his post-game interview. I can't wait to hear that tell-all. Did you see that?
A little bit. Yeah, go ahead and tell the listeners. I thought it was very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a post-game press conference. They're asking, what I can't remember the reporter, and I apologize. I kind of asked them what series of events led to your fallout over there in Indiana,
Yeah.
and he basically just kind of said, I don't, one day I'll come out with a tell-all and I'll discuss everything that led up to the events and why I left. But he basically came out and said, just know that I shouldn't be the one you should be booing.
Mm,
Basically saying it's the front office. It's the front office's fault I
right.
left, or else I would have still been a Pacer. So we'll hear everything at one point, whether it was something that they said to him, or a
He stuck
contract,
it
or
to the Pacers too, man. He really did.
so that's another one that we're gonna have to keep an eye on going forward because it looks like there's still a little bit of animosity in there.
Oh, no doubt about it. I love the Parker take for sure. What about on the Bulls side? They are tough to roster. Any Bulls, I'll tell you, they are
Yeah.
just difficult to roster.
They're very tough. I'll look at Chris Dunn at 4,800, knowing that he's going to be alongside of Trey Young and that porous defense. He played 15 minutes in the last game. Don't really worry about that. It was plagued by foul trouble for a lot of it, so he got 5 fouls in the game. Fouls are always going to be an issue. He's very handsy, but he's also very good at racking up steals. So I would consider him at 4,800 in the matchup. But my favorite play on the Chicago side is going to be Marketing. He's finally starting to look like he's like slowly turning it around and starting to break out of that slump. This is a dream matchup against Atlanta. I have no problem paying 6,300 for Marketing. And I think that a lot of he burned enough people this year that his ownership's going to be
Yeah.
down for quite some time until people see a streak of like a couple of those high 30s and 40s games. He's going to have low ownership.
Yeah, I'm one of them. I don't trust him either. I think I rostered him once, and he, very just non-motivated, like 17-point fantasy night. Just didn't look like he cared out there. I don't know what the deal is, or if it was a slump, but I guess it's good to get on the train before it gets hot, and time it right. But
Hey, if
yeah,
there's a game you're going to do it or a matchup you're going to be able to break out of it, it's going to be one of these types of matchups.
yeah,
I wouldn't be going to look and throw Marketing in at 6,300 if he was going against like the Lakers or Indiana or Orlando or one of those tougher defensive teams.
yeah,
There's a reason behind it. I mean, Atlanta's very porous. It's going to be an up and down game. They're coming off of a back to back, so yeah, they're
yeah.
going to allow more points. They're going to be a little bit tired, but neither teams are, great where this game's going to have to worry about getting out of hand. It should still stay competitive enough where we should see 30 plus minutes out of them, barring foul trouble.
What about Zach LaVine? This should be a double smash spot for him, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. I definitely have some interest in him. I definitely do. But at the end of the day, it's not like, I don't think that we're going to have to worry about or think about that whole Trey Young guarding him. That's not going to happen
No.
unless they, the switch happens and mismatches happen. That's bound to happen in any kind of game. But for the most part, I wouldn't expect him on him. So he's in play mostly due to the pace. But 7,900, it's a little bit too rich for my blood where I think I'd rather go elsewhere in a few other games. We'll get there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to dial up a little Zach LaVine. I know the price sort of sucks, and he can be very points dependent. But man, this matchup against Atlanta with tired legs and bad defense, LaVine feasts on that kind of stuff. So I'm not running through the streets thrilled about this pick, but I do like Zach LaVine here, and he's definitely going to make one of my couple of lineups that I build reluctantly. So hopefully I don't regret that, but I can't pass up the spot.
I'll knock you for it.
All right, man. We go before we catch the final 5 games. Hard to believe we still have 5 games left, but just a couple quick mentions here. Again, Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee Company. We thank them for them being the presenting sponsor. We'd ask you also check out hoop-ball.com. There's some great. There's a Prime membership there that you can join, a primetime membership where you get access to all kinds of things that hoop-ball.com has to offer, including some exclusive podcasts, also the Brews newsletter, that comes out. You can sign up for that for free on the website. Great insight there. So check things out there. And then obviously the forums on there. we always tell you to click on the DFS thread that's manned by Miles and Andy and the team there. Great stuff. Also, you can catch us 7 days a week. We have live, free, front of the line information on the DFS world, and we love the fact that we're able to bring that to you in front of any paywalls. So, just all we ask is that you take an extra second when you listen to the podcast to rate, review, subscribe, click the 5 stars, the likes, the positive reviews are really welcome. The thumbs up, anything you can, to push the podcast forward. We want to continue to grow the listenership. We want to be able to make sure that we show the possible support and possible additional people that we can get out there to listen and grow it. It's just going to do wonders for the entire show. So, check us out. Just do a quick search. DFS today or NBA DFS today. We're going to pop up there on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, iHeart, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere podcasts can be found. So we appreciate you. We ask you to jump on there and show us a little bit of love, man. Definitely also follow us on Twitter. That's really the lifeblood of all the information that we're sending out there. I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. My man is at Mike Apotria, Mikeapotria. And then our other 2 pros, Andrew is at Language Olympic, and Miles is at Miles6565. So, definitely join in, listen, follow us. We'll be tweeting stuff throughout the day, every day on player movement, player news, ideas, bounce stuff there. DM us with questions specific to something you want to know, or just to shoot the baloney about NBA DFS. We'd be happy to jump on there with you. So that is that, and we move on to the final 5 games of the day. And we have another 8 p.m. Eastern start. It's the 13-11 Utah Jazz at the 10-13 Minnesota Timberwolves. And in this game, we've got Jeff Teague questionable for Minnesota, which is big. That makes a big difference in what the deal is there. And we'll go over some of those reasons. And we also know that Mike Conley is still out for the Utah Jazz. Utah is 16th right now in pace. Minnesota is still in the top 5. They are getting up and down the floor and are 5th. Defensively, Utah is 11th, better than average on the defensive side, but they have slipped out of the top 10. And Minnesota is down to 20th. So they have run across some difficulties on the defensive side. What do you have from the Jazz side here, Michael?
I think this is a good spot for the Jazz, especially with Conley still being out. I think opening up the usage, it just basically goes straight to Bogdanovich and Mitchell. I think both those guys are in play. It feels like it's a Bogdanovich game. This is kind of I don't mind the price at 6,100. It's not a price that you get overly excited about paying for when you're looking at a guy like Bogdanovich. But slowly kind of still reverting back to like how he was on the Pacers. He's taking a big offensive load, especially with Conley out. I can anticipate that moving forward, and I think they're going to need his scoring in this type of game. So both those guys are definitely in play, and then I think Rudy Gobert also at 7,700. Just another guy with a safe floor. Still some upside left in the price at that as well. He's played well in the 2 matchups prior. I think he's averaging 40 DK points per game in the 2 times that they played earlier. So it's right on par to his price. So I'm just going to be looking at those 3 guys on the Utah side. And then looking over at the Minnesota side, I think it's just going to be a lot of Andrew Wiggins for me if Teague sits. We'll get back to that point Wiggins kind of thing at $7K. I think that's a very fair price tag for him. And that's where I would definitely be looking to get a lot of my ownership.
Outstanding. For me on the Utah side, I think your take on Bogdanovich is spot on. I think Donovan Mitchell is going to draw probably Roko coverage, and we know Covington can defend. And I think Bogdanovich, could put up a monster game here. I think he becomes a go-to guy. Also, Gobert. I mean, there's no doubt Cat's been getting shredded at the center position recently. So, I'm comfortable going to either spot there. I wouldn't recommend any of the Utah backup point guards. None of them are really shining. No, they're
don't
not.
touch those guys. You never want to feel good about putting money on Moutier.
No, and it's just not. None of them are getting it done. So, I agree with you. I think Bogdanovich, terrific play. Gobert, you can go there. On the Minnesota side, this is going to be really key for me. I'm really hoping Teague sits. He was marked questionable the last two games, and he played both of them. So I'm not expecting him to sit. And we definitely, being an 8 o'clock game, may not have this news. So if he remains questionable, don't risk it by any stretch of the imagination, because like I say, he will probably play. But if for some reason he is ruled out, I love Napier here. Shabazz Napier, when he gets the chance to play, and I know it's a recency thing for me because I played him when Teague was listed as questionable last 3 days ago. I think it was against the Lakers, and he helped me take down some good stuff, man. He came in, even though Teague played, Napier got 21 minutes and had 28 and a half fantasy points, and it just was a monster lift for me. And I know it's risky, but I'm telling you, if Teague sits, I know Wiggins becomes super good play because he handles the point and does sort of everything out there. But, with Teague out, Napier will definitely get 20, 25 minutes, as a point guard. And, he's a good DFS points per minute guy, man. And what a value he is. So, again, definitely on the GPP side, if Teague sits, dial up Napier. I'm even going to do it a little bit in cash if he sits. Wiggins is monster in play, no doubt in my mind. Just because Teague, even when he is playing, is coming off the bench now, and Wiggins is running the point at the beginning. And with no Conley to defend him, I think Wiggins is a great, great play. High on my list, close to one of my foundational guys. I would not dial up Cat and spend the big money on him here with the Defensive Player of the Year, Gobert, back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year. Defending him, I think, it seems as though Cat certainly can have those blow-it-out games where he just goes nuts, but it seems like Wiggins is the main go-to guy in the clutch for the big shots here, and that's sort of developed as the years gone on. So that's my take there, man. What do you think?
I think we're pretty much in very similar boats. I mean, yeah, if Teague's out, I have no problem loading up and getting some shares in Napier. While I'm monitoring that questionable tags and be essential. Wiggins is a guy where I feel like you could play either way. It would be way more beneficial if Teague's out, obviously. But at 7K, I think even if Teague plays, Teague still likely to probably come off the bench. Wiggins would still probably play a lot of point guards. So I'm with you though. If he's out, Napier's definitely good to go.
All right, man, I like it. I feel good about the support there. Good stuff. All right, next game, 9 p.m. game. We have the Memphis Grizzlies at 7-16, at the Phoenix Suns at 11-12. We know Ja Morant had come back already, so he's in play. Grayson Allen is out this game, sore knee. He's been getting some minutes and some run there. I don't see any news on Phoenix for anybody out, so I think as of now they're all in play. Pace side certainly favorable here. Memphis 6th, Phoenix 11th. So, good 5, 6, 7 extra possessions per team in this game, with that being the pace area that they both are playing in right now. And then defensively, certainly not stellar. 21 for Memphis, 18 for Phoenix. This could be a really sneaky game that a lot of people are going to overlook that I think is going to have a very favorable over-under on the Vegas side, and you're going to see some pretty high implied totals here. What do you got Grizz-wise?
I like a lot on the Grizz. I like a lot in this game. I mean, you hit the nail on the head.
Good.
There's so many games, and this one's going to be so enticing because we know that there's so many guys on both sides of the ball that could really just break a slate. So many guys that have like 50-point plus
True.
upside in this matchup. Just looking on the Memphis side of the ball, Morant has that upside. Jackson has the upside. Valanciunas has the upside. They all get that plus matchup. They're all priced fairly. So, for me, all those guys are in play. Obviously, we're not going to be able to spend up on all of them and get to all of them. So I would probably, limit myself to saying, Valanciunas probably being my favorite play out of the bunch. Just knowing that what his ceiling, what his floor is. Aaron Baines probably still going to see his minutes limited with the calf injury. So I think, that's an advantage that they could take. Valanciunas can easily be bullying Frank Kaminsky around left and right if he really wanted to. So that's kind of my approach. I'm really not looking at Jay Crowder. I know you're a big Dylan Brooks guy, but I don't really want to pay that $5K price tag. I don't really think
I would say I'm a big Dylan Brooks. Where did you come up with me being a big Dylan
Well,
Brooks?
no, I mean you're a big fan of his defense. Let's just say.
I do like his defense.
You mentioned the defense. You're a Dylan Brooks guy. You're a Dylan Brooks guy.
I don't. I would not consider myself a Dylan Brooks guy.
No,
I think that's fake news, sir.
Well, I think at the end
Have
of the day,
you've been watching Fox? No,
no,
that's
never.
a different commentary.
Well, I think that's kind of how I'm going to be taking the approach for this. I mean, I'm going to be mixing and matching with these guys a few different ways. The Morant combo and with Valanciunas, and running it back with a couple of the other guys. Looking at the Phoenix side, Devin Booker's just been straight balling. 8,800 is expensive. It's expensive. I don't know if I'll end up paying 8,800 for him, but I'm not going to knock you if you want to. At the end of the day, I'm going to have. You heard me say a lot of these expensive guys I'm kind of steering clear of. And he kind of falls into the category where would I rather play Paul George or Kawhi Leonard at a little bit cheaper? I feel safer about their floors. But when I want to target some of that upside, I'm going to keep Booker in my player pool. I've seen this guy just blow up on any given slate. But I think looking at this ball, I think I'd rather play Rubio. I just love the consistency with him at 7,300. It's more than a fair price tag. These teams played earlier in the year. He put up about 32 DK points, and that was on some pretty poor shooting. He only shot 33% from the floor that game. So I still think there's a little bit of juice left on the bone in that one. And Dario Saric has been straight balling. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not a slouch defensively, but Saric is offensively talented enough where he can easily put Jackson into foul trouble quickly, and that may be something that the Suns look to try to generate and try to target, knowing that kind of matchup. He's been playing well over the past two games. So those would be my two primary options, I would say. It would be Rubio and Saric in tournaments. If you want to take a shot on Booker, I don't mind it. And, Oubre, I'm more or less considering when he's at this price tag of that 7K, around that 7K, he's more of a tournament play for me. He's just hit or miss. He's either getting you 40 plus or you're getting that mid 20s, and I don't want to pay 7K for a guy getting me mid 20s in my cash lineups.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I think this is such a tough one because I think, like I say, it's so pivotal. I think you're going to have people stacking this game, and really forcing some plays here. And I do think, I'm fearful of fading it a lot, but I think I may. Here's my concern. Joe Val, even against 25 minutes of Baines' defense, is problematic to me. I think Baines is super underrated defensively. I mean, when he was out, Phoenix went from 9th in the league defensively to 18th. So just one man made that much of a difference. And I think his return is going to, thwart Joe Val just enough to make him not really playable for me at that price. Ja is tempting, but you just, he's a rookie, and you don't know if he's going to throw one of those 8 turnover games on the board and only get 28 minutes. So I don't really want to spend up there. All the rest of the guys are just so hit or miss. It's tough, so I doubt I'm going to roster anybody on the Memphis side. Phoenix, I'm with you on the Rubio train. I think Rubio's a solid play there. I mean, he never tears it up shooting the ball, but he does at times can string a couple threes in there. I like the pace up here. I think that, Booker will garner so much defensive attention that, I think Rubio is going to make a lot of my lineups. I think his price is fair as well. I mean, he's a pretty good value guy here. Oubre's tempting, but his price has gone up so much, and Crowder and some of those guys, Hill and some of those wing guys, really get after it defensively. So that concerns me a little bit. And I really think, now that Baines is back for, whatever minutes he does play, and I think he'll probably get 25 or so. It definitely takes, the value of Kaminsky, and I think a lot of those rebounds that Sarge has been getting get sort of pulled away as well. But I don't think Baines is playing enough to be a solid play there. So, I may walk away from this game with just Rubio. Booker gets the talented Dylan Brooks defense. So, being that he's one of the better players in the league, you can't play Booker, right?
I mean, I think Booker's just always in play.
Yeah,
it's.
You didn't hear my joke about Brooks, man? That was a joke, dude.
Yeah, I guess that one slid over after I just said it too.
You're not even paying attention. So now we know you're busted. So when I do go into my long talks, you're just clicking your computer.
No, actually, you did bust me.
I'm listening to a damn thing I'm saying.
No, I was just monitoring. I was checking out some of the news that popped up, and I don't know if you saw it. Did you see what happened over there in Miami?
No.
Oh, okay. See.
What happened?
See, now you want to know. I don't know. What'd you say about Dylan Brooks? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you.
No, I'm just joking.
The listeners know the truth. So what happened?
Bam and Butler both posted triple doubles tonight.
Bam Adebayo had a triple double.
Yep, and Butler in the same game.
They both play. I played both of them. I'm going to win all the money.
You're probably going to win a lot of money then, Coach. Especially
if shit.
Yeah, you managed to fade some of those other guys like Trae Young had a pretty down game.
I didn't play Trae Young, and I faded Tyler Hero, and Hero was owned by like everybody.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't chase the points with Hero. I had more than none.
Did Miami come back and win the game?
I did not check the score. I was just trying to. I was going on the old Twitter sphere. I was searching a name for the next game that we get to, just see if I can pull up any news before it started. Before I had the chance to do it, that's where I saw that Bam and Butler triple doubles happened. So.
That is insane.
I immediately kind of got a little starstruck, jaw dropped. I was like, wow. And I'm not surprised. I mean, Bam's a fantastic passer. He's been passing well all season long. I said it early on. He's like Jokic-esque when it comes to the passes. And flashing it right there and then. So
unbelievable, man. I think I hear that. Do you hear that? That's the Brinks truck backing up to my front door.
Exactly.
Beep, beep, beep. I hope so, man. All right. Well, let's keep rolling here now. I need to get out there and watch some of this late Knicks game here. See what's going on. We're going long anyway. This is a long show, but you know what? We're here for our listeners. It's not our own self-interest. We're here for our listeners. At least I know they're listening to me, even though you're not.
I got a little starstruck, man.
That's okay, dude. All right, 3 games left. Let's get rolling. I want to go see the money. 9:30 Eastern, New Orleans Pelicans or New Orleans Pelicans, depending on what part of the country you're from. 6-18, not good. Milwaukee Bucks, 21-3. Definitely blowout potential here. Favors is questionable. He looks like he might play because he was out for personal reasons. So you've got the nightmare of Favors and Okafor and Jackson Hayes, and when they play small, they go to Kendrick Williams and Ingram. So it's sort of a nightmare inside for them. They are the 4th pace team in the league. Milwaukee is 2nd. So you very rarely get that type of a pace. this game could be in the 120s or 130s. You have to have some guys from this game if you want to win, Mike. You have to. And then let's look at the defensive side. The Pelicans don't play D. They're 27th. Milwaukee is the best defensive team in the league, but they seem to blow everybody's doors in. Here's the big dilemma here. Do you play a couple guys from this game because it's going to be so high scoring, or is it going to be such a blowout that everybody shares minutes? It could be probably the pivot game that's going to depend on whether you win all the money tomorrow or not. So what do you think, man? Game script it for me.
So it's going to be all developed on the game script. So the news I was looking up before, because I knew we were sliding this one, is I wanted to see exactly. So Derek Favors is expected to play. I wanted to see if I could find any news on exactly what kind of minutes we can anticipate. I wouldn't anticipate a big workload, especially him missing so much time.
But he wasn't hurt. It was just personal.
Well, he was dealing with a back injury, too. Don't forget about that. So before he left with the personal news, yes, he had a back injury. So he was actually out with a back injury before, I believe, the death in the family with his mother happened. So, I mean, that he had enough time off where maybe, it was just soreness and it's kind of feeling a lot better. But there's no reason for me to believe that they're going to play him any more than, maybe 20, 22 minutes absolutely max. And, I mean, let's just be real. It's a bad center matchup going against the Bucks when Brook Lopez is stretching the floor and pulling them away from the paint anyway. So I think that's going to take off Hayes, Okafor, and Favors right off my list as far as guys on New Orleans. And I also wanted to mention Lonzo Ball's switching. He's going to the bench. He's going to be playing in the bench role from now on. Yeah. They're going to opt to just play Drew Holiday at point, slide Kenrich Williams back into the starting lineup. Basically just let Ingram and Holiday do a lot of the ball handling. So the main guys I'd probably be looking at, I really don't have too much interest in anybody on the New Orleans side. I'd probably be looking at Holiday at that price. $7,100 I think is a fair price tag for him. The ancillary pieces, I think Josh Hart at $4,100 is a solid price tag.
Yeah, that's cheap.
He's pretty safe floor and ceiling in these kinds of matchups where even if it does blow out, he sees extra run. That bodes well for him. And, if the game stays close, he still sees enough run where he's a nice rebounding guard, fast-paced game, extra shot attempts on both sides. That kind of bodes well for him. And you know what? I'm not as scared off of this game as a lot of people might be. I kind of like Giannis in it. I think I haven't played Giannis in, I want to say, a few weeks.
What's his number though?
11K is I'm more than okay with paying 11K for him.
You know what? That's not. So he's 11K and Harden's
12.9.
9?
12.9. So we're talking about $1,900 difference.
I did not see that. That is insane.
So and that's what I want to touch on. Even if this game does get out of hand, Giannis at 11K, he can still get you to where you need to get the 5X in limited minutes. In 30 to 28 minutes, he can get you 50 to 55 and not burn you completely.
50, he has to get to 55.
Yeah, 55 for the 5X.
Yeah.
Even if you get 50 out of him, though, you might not win all the nuts, but it won't sink your lineups completely. Especially if you fade some of those other stars, and the stars have bad games just in general. I mean, not all those guys, LeBron, Davis, Harden, Westbrook, Giannis, Trae Young, all those high-priced guys are going to hit. Maybe 2 out of the 5 might really break a slate or something like that on any given night. So I definitely think he's in play. I think Middleton would be in play for me as well. Bledsoe, it looks like he's just struggling to get acclimated ever since Middleton got back, and now that Middleton's back in the starting lineup. So I think I'm going to steer clear of Bledsoe. So I'm mainly going to be looking at Giannis and Middleton if I'm running it back. If I want to get some exposure to this game, I'm not fading it due to the blowout. I'll have a few lineups that I do that in, but for the majority, I think I'm going to play this as though this game is going to get stay close enough where I'm going to get enough run out of those two guys and feel confident in them.
Very interesting. This is going to be my stand. This is where I'm going to try to differentiate myself from the crowd tomorrow. I'm going to fade this game completely, and I'm going to explain why. I think this game blows out. I think the Pelicans are terrible. I think that Giannis is going to focus. He wants to be a Defensive Player of the Year, MVP candidate again here, and he, I think, is going to really get after Ingram. And Ingram's a handful. The dude is playing at a level that a lot of people didn't think that he could get to. So I think the focus will be enough for Giannis that he may only throw up a 45 or 50 fantasy point game. You don't really particularly have to have that on an 11 game slate. I would say, yeah, I'd take him 4x and 44 fantasy points. You need that on a 3 game slate or whatever, but I don't think you need that here. So I think that the limited minutes because of the blowout, the fact that he's going to be focusing to defend Ingram, I think that takes some of the luster away. Milwaukee has an extremely deep bench where a ton of guys get a ton of minutes when they blow everybody out. It's another home game where I think they blow somebody out again, and all those Connaughtons of the world and all those guys off the bench steal a bunch of the thunder there. From the Pelican side too, Drew Holiday is expensive as hell. And he's going to be facing the double barrel of Bledsoe and a little bit of George Hill, who I really respect defensively. And I just think that, New Orleans is going to play enough guys and rotate enough guys in a blowout that it's just not palatable. So, you got to take a stance somewhere. And, the fact that I'm not playing Giannis, Harden, Westbrook, Anthony Davis, or LeBron on a card, I think is going to set me apart in a lot of ways. But I still think there's a lot of those medium 8,000 players that I'm really going to try to stay disciplined and keep no dumpster diving for me, and just keep those mid-level guys and just 40 point everybody to death, and just 40, 45, 50 fantasy points from like everybody on my team. That's my goal tomorrow.
I mean, I'm definitely going to have some bills like that as well. I mean, the only high-priced guy I really mentioned that I did have interest in is Giannis. And I'd be a fool if I scripted every single lineup I run out on an 11-game slate with like 100% Giannis, especially in this kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Blowout is absolutely real. I think a lot of people are going to see that. They're going to see the spread. They're going to think the same exact thing. And, we haven't seen Giannis really this cheap in a while. And if
I think he's going to be the highest owned guy on the slate.
You think you think he'll draw higher ownership than Harden?
Oh, 1,900? I mean, he's going to blow. If Giannis isn't number one owned on this slate, I'll eat this piece of paper I'm looking at right now.
Okay.
Because I'm telling you, there's another. I'll chicken soup bet you on that one too.
I don't know, because I can see it. At the end of the day, it wouldn't shock me. It's really going to be on the stance, and that's going to greatly impact the way I'm kind of going about my business with this too. Is going to be on that ownership, and once I'm starting to gauge and see where everybody else is going to be at with him, because if he is coming in there as the chalkiest player on the slate, then that would totally warrant just a complete kind of fade of this game in general. I think for me, but until I kind of get that and figure that out, right now he's probably one of my top options.
All right, man. Well, let's watch that news. I mean, you can never go wrong with Giannis. He certainly has the highest floor.
So fun to watch too. You just love watching him. Like when you're playing him in DFS and you just turn on the Bucks game, it's absolutely just fun to watch him because he's blocking,
like he's
stealing.
Playing with middle schoolers.
Exactly. He's just doing everything on the court, and just you get to watch him. And within 2 seconds of grabbing the rebound, he's pushing the pace and dunking the ball, and then playing defense, getting a block. He just does it in so many ways where. I've always been a big fan of him ever since he kind of came over, and he was just a raw talent and a work in progress.
I still don't think he's as good as he can be.
Oh, not even close.
I think So it's mind-boggling to think if he stays healthy, what he can be. Just nuts.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get rocking here. We have 2 games left. A 10 p.m. game, Oklahoma City Thunder 11-12. At the Sacramento Kings 10-13. What a crappy game. Finally, we have a game we don't have to really talk about that much. You got the 25th and 30th pace teams. Yuck. And they're 14th and 19th, so middle of the pack defensively. Right now I see Ferguson out for Oklahoma City. Bagley's going to return for Sacramento, which muddies up all of that garbage. I'm not going to waste any time as we're getting along on the show. This is such a pass game for me. It's my fade game of the night.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's one person in this game that does bring me interest, and it's only because you guys probably hear me mention it all the time. Shooting guards against Sacramento is something I definitely always look at and always keep on my
Buddy.
radar.
Oh no, I'm sorry. On the
Oh
Thunder.
no,
Shea.
Shea. He's been playing well over the past 3 games. We're kind of looking like that early season form, Shea.
Now
Uh,
he's one of my favorite guys. I
yeah.
love Shea.
Oh, I think this kid's an amazing talent. He's going to be a superstar in this league eventually. 3 straight games of at least 20 points, actual points scored. Shot attempts are always there. He just hasn't been able to knock anything down at a serious clip lately. It's a decent bounce back. I mean, I don't love the price tag. I don't want to go points chasing. But for all those reasons, and like I said, shooting guards is something I look to play against the Kings. So he's really the only guy that I have on my radar right now. I'm not really looking at anybody on Sacramento's side. Marvin Bagley back, expected to play. Kind of want to see how they, figure out that whole front court situation between Rashawn Holmes, Belicia, him. We don't really know exactly what they're going to do. Whether they, originally at the beginning of the year they were playing Bagley at the 4, and that's what they wanted to do. And he was starting alongside Dedmon. Holmes has since just smashed the starting job out of the way. And if that's the case, it's gonna be those two guys playing alongside of each other, and they're gonna cut into each other's value. And I don't want to pay that price tag just yet. Bagley's playing 30 plus minutes. If we know Bagley, if they say there's no minutes restriction on Bagley at 6,100, I would definitely have some interest in him.
I think he'll be 15 to 20 minutes first game
Yeah,
out.
I would expect it. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a thumb.
That in writing. That's just my gut feeling.
You got to be careful though, because like even like with Hayward, it being like a hand. Anytime it's not like a knee or a muscle or anything like that, it's really a toss up. They could really come out and just play. He's been conditioning, he's been practicing, so it's not like he's just coming off of his couch. So it's something that we'll monitor. I would expect a minutes limit as well. I'm with you, but if we see that it's not, I'm all for it. Just like Lowry, when Lowry came back, remember that? We jumped right on that. We were all over that. And so it was a very similar situation.
It wasn't
fractured thumb. Came right back, played 40 minutes.
That very first game, nobody played him because they thought, okay, he's not going to do that much. He was 47.6.
Now you see where I'm going with this, Coach. So I think there's definitely a little bit of meat there. So we got to keep an eye on that.
It's a smart move. And I'll tell you, a couple of guys in this game that deserve mention, though. I've got to say, as much as I've dogged him, Chris Paul's been playing really well. He's playing good ball, man. And I'm amazed at his whole career. I'm telling you right now, it's hands down. It's not even close. He is the best assist to turnover ratio player in the history of the NBA. I mean, it's unreal through the years. Even at this date, at his age, the other day he had 9 assists, no turnovers. I mean, he's and when he was in his prime, you'd see those 15 assists, no turnovers. I mean, unbelievable. I respect him.
I mean, people forget that the NBA actually had to stop him from going to the Lakers because it would just be unfair. I mean, we got to remember, this guy was about to break the NBA.
The younger guys that are just getting into DFS, that don't remember Paul in his heyday, man, that dude, and he still can do it on a given night. You're right, man.
He was worth, what was it, Eric Gordon?
Yeah.
At one point when Eric Gordon was supposed to be the next big thing. He was the focal point where that LA traded to get Paul to initially kind of jumpstart their Lob City over there with Blake Griffin. So, the unbelievable talent, man. He doesn't get enough credit for how good he's been throughout his career, and it's a shame. I mean, I hope he finds his way out of Oklahoma City fast.
Yeah, it'd be nice if he could get somewhere where he could finish his career up in the right spot and be competitive. So, hope that works out. But the other guy I want to mention is just Buddy Hield, because he's Buddy Hield. When he's hot, man, Buddy Love can fill
so much usage. She's had so much usage, Coach.
Since Bogdanovich has been sort of hurt, trying to play hurt and all that, Hield has really stepped up. He's always a nice little play if you can fit him.
Yeah, and I kind of glanced over him. I've been mentioning him over the past few days. Keep your eyes on Trevor Ariza again at 4,500. I've been playing him. That
was a little bit of a narrative game, though, at the Rockets.
Oh, absolutely. But he played 25 minutes in the game prior and 29 in the one prior and then 35. So the minutes have been there. And I mentioned, I don't know if it's because of Bogdanovich's injury or if it's just because they want to get him acclimated back into the rotation now that he's back. I mean, he was a focal point for them at the beginning of the season. Getting him minutes was a priority. So I wouldn't be shocked to see this continue. The Bagley thing might throw a little bit of a wrench in that. I'm not too sure. He was playing a little bit of the stretch 4 at times, so But we'll kind of have to see. So maybe give it the wait and see. Maybe temper it back with Bagley there. But I wanted to mention it because the minutes have been there for him in the past few games.
I think that's a very sharp point, and I think Ariza definitely needs to be on people's radar. Great call. All right, last game of the night, 10:30 Eastern game. The New York Knicks at 4-19 at the Golden State Warriors 5-20. So a really thrilling combination of 9-39 for the records of these two. So what a way to end the night. You've got the Knicks, the 28th pace. So not only do they not play defense and they stink, they don't have any pace. They are like the worst DFS team ever. And I've got two of their guys in this late game that's going on right now that are probably going to determine if I really do get the Brinks truck backing up. But anyway, Golden State is 17th in pace, so they're not playing super fast either. The good news is neither team is good defensively. Knicks 24th, Golden State 23rd. We know that the Knicks are going to be on a second night of a back-to-back, and they're on their West Coast trip, so that could affect them a little bit. We know they have a new coach. This is his second game, so we'll see how that shakes out. Right now, Pascal for Golden State is questionable, so that will shift a little bit more to Draymond and certainly D'Angelo and maybe even a little Robinson in that spot too. So what do you think about the Knicks, man?
Yeah, it's the Knicks, man. I got my wish. Fizdale, I think I wrote an article the day before he got fired. And when I was a DFS picks article, and I got to the Knicks, I usually go by team and basically who I keep in my player pool at that point in the morning. And I just skipped right over it. And instead of even listening to the description, I put, is Fizdale fired yet? And I got my wish, man. So the next day, he got canned, and now that I look back on it, I know I take it from the outside. I know it wasn't completely his fault situation. I don't think he made the best decisions at the end of the day. I think the ownership had a hand in him making some of his decisions as well.
Yeah.
So maybe he'll get a fair shake, and maybe I'll be able to give him another chance on a different team. But it was a bad situation. So looking at the Knicks, my main targets, I've been keeping my eye on Mitchell Robinson, especially with the new coaching change. Exactly what his role has been.
He's dialed up for me tonight, so I'm sweating bullets. I hope he's playing. I hope he gets the minutes.
I had to go even if he doesn't get the minutes, man. If he's a dude that could just produce. I mean, he's like a poor man's Bam out of Hassan Whiteside, where we're talking about a guy that could play 24, 25 minutes when he was early on in his career and just get rebounds and blocks by the boatload. So I have no problem going to Robinson in this matchup. It's definitely a good one. It's not the same Golden State team in the past where we have to kind of limit our exposure to centers against them. They play bigs now. They have to. They have no choice. They don't have any healthy bodies anymore. Then one of my other favorite options would probably just be looking at like R.J. Barrett, 5,700. I don't love the price tag, but there should be plenty of back and forth going on in this game. Plenty of shot attempts for him. There's nobody on the other end of the other side of the ball that's really going to be able to stifle him defensively. So I mean those two guys, but more or less I think Robinson would be my primary focus. I don't think we need to overexpose ourselves to this game necessarily. Julius Randle just getting a little bit of Draymond Green defense is enough for me to say no thank you.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all I got. Peyton, solid play. But it's a back-to-back. He was a guy that was suffering from hamstring injuries, I believe, for quite some time.
Yeah.
So
that's my other play tonight, so I don't know how that's going. I could be a laughing stock with that play because I know Ntilikina is still starting. We know Smith is in there, but for the listeners, they'll know. By the time they hear this, I dialed up Peyton just because I thought he played such a great game in Coach Miller's first game with the Knicks, and I thought he'd go to him in the clutch. So we'll see. Hopefully he gets some minutes here. And, if they're splitting minutes and they're on a back-to-back, that's even better. They'll be a little more fresh tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. I don't think it's different on a 4-game slate. That's why I dialed a few Knicks in there. On an 11-game slate, I'm not going to dial any Knicks in there, especially on a back-to-back. On the Golden State side, I'd love to be able to say I want to play D'Angelo Russell, but I'm not exactly sure if Kerr is really playing his guys enough minutes to make them relative, because he really doesn't care if they win or lose. I think D'Angelo would be a fantastic play if I knew he was going to play a bunch of minutes, and I still may use him. I know he's a little pricey, but he could easily throw 50 fantasy points up without even blinking against the Knicks. So, he's in play. I mean, I wouldn't fault you for wanting to get some value in this game with a Robinson or Bowman or somebody like that. There will be some usage of Pascal sitting that will, if he sits, he's questionable, to go around as well. So other than that, certainly not a game I don't think anybody's going to focus on. But, man, it'd be nice to be able to fit D'Angelo in there and then wait for that late night hammer game and see if he can get it done. So I may do that.
I don't mind Russell. Seeing that he got his minutes back up to 34 in the last one definitely piques my interest. But when push comes to shove, at the same price tag, would you rather play Russell or Levine?
Wow, that's a tough one, man. I mean, that's sort of dead even. I mean, I think they're both in play. I'd like to try, my medium build lineup. Maybe I can fit both of them. And
if not, throw in a couple of GPPs and pivot.
Yeah.
Maybe just do the quick one over, one swap. I think at this point, Levine's floor is probably a little bit safer, especially in the matchup against Atlanta. And I think Russell still, just with all that usage still floating around, if Pascal sits, if he wants to, he can go out there and just chuck 24 shots, 25 shots, and no one's going to bat an eye.
And he might do it. Yeah, he very well may do it. Yeah. I wouldn't mind dialing them both up. I mean, it depends on your build. If it seems like we've sort of suggested fading a lot of the superstars on this slate for the most part. So I think, with an 11-game slate, it just seems like a perfect scenario to not have to, now if there's some serious value that opens up, then that changes things slightly. But as of right now, I think that, that strategy of just getting the really solid floor players that are going to do well, that you're not going to have to take a 15-point outing from somebody, and wish them in. So we'll see how it goes, see how the news unfolds tomorrow. It's going to be a fun slate, that's for sure.
All right, man. Well, I think we should probably wrap. I mean, I think we just recorded a small movie.
I know. It's like an hour and 45 minute show, but you know what? Like I say, we're here for the people. We want to drive home some winners. We were making up for lost time because we haven't done a show for a week. So there you go.
Ah, man, I've been waiting. I've been holding that Berea thing in for a while, man.
Oh,
burst at the seams.
That really sucks. But we have what, 2 chicken suit challenges tonight. So we can't forget them this time.
We have Biombo. What's the other one? Because I forgot it already.
It's Biombo over under 25 minutes.
Oh, 20. 20. It was 24 points. 24 points. Listeners, when you hear this, tweet at us. Make sure that we know.
24 minutes played.
Let's go back and
you're cheating on top of it.
Let's go back and let the listeners know. Because
not 24 real points.
24 fantasy points. 24 DFS, DFS points. Because if he's getting 24 minutes, I'm on board at 3,700.
24 DraftKings fantasy points in tomorrow's game. The other one was early on.
That was the first one. I think we only made one. That was the first one that we made.
I thought we had a second one.
You're getting old, Coach. You're getting old, man.
I thought we had. Didn't we have 2 guys that we? You were going to challenge me on Shabazz, was it?
Yeah, it was. You found somebody, and I never ended up finding somebody.
You didn't accept the challenge. Them. Okay, all right. We'll stick with Biombo. I'll take the 5-4 lead. No worries.
I've been here. We'll see, Coach. I've been slowly creeping. I think I should. Karma's going to work because somebody's going to come back out and tweet at us and let us know that the other bet I smoked you in the other day, and then I'll have the 5-4 lead. It'll turn into a 6-4. All of a sudden, I'm running away with this.
Listeners, just kindly forget that other one. And let's just move on and get some winners, and let's keep it
If
going.
anybody does remember that, and the first person that can get that information, and it's only if I strictly won that bet, by the way. If you come and tweet at me and Coach and tell me that Coach won, this does not apply to you anymore.
Yes, you will win. I will send a prize. I'll send
I'll find something.
Kona coffee to you.
I'll find something for whoever could do that for us. Whether it's we just jumping in your DMs for a full night and we'll just construct our lineups together up until lock, whatever it might be. We'll do something fun, but try to get back to us with that.
Well, I think this is officially like our longest podcast ever. I think we even beat our preseason games where we were going over all the teams. We've dissected these games throughout. We had some really good constructive criticism come in saying, go over all the value plays, give us more options. Well, heck, man, we've talked about just about everybody. So I'm hoping that you can use this knowledge tonight that we've shared to build some really winning lineups.
Absolutely. And shout out to Daniel. Daniel, that's he came at me and he told me on Twitter, this is kind of what I want to hear a little bit more of. I trust you guys. I'm a faithful listener. Just giving some good feedback and some constructive criticism. Like I've always said, I'm all for it. If you're looking just to give your opinion, let us know what you want us to do a little bit differently, or what you think we could spend a little bit more time on or less time on, whatever it may be. We're all ears, guys. We just want to be able to produce the best show for you guys, turn you guys into winners and all go home with money in our pockets at the end of the day. So I appreciate the feedback, man, and keep it coming. I love it. Thank you.
Mike, did I forget to tell you that I have a burner Twitter account where I'm Daniel?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would have doubted, Coach. You definitely got at least a couple burners in there.
I take shots at you all the time.
You probably use those to go at like Joe Ingles. How's that? Seeing after you jumped off the train and getting that big game out of him?
He went 7X last night, that bastard.
I've been on him. Listen, that was a fluke. The bad game was the fluke. Joe Ingles was a stud last season.
I hate Jingles for the rest of the year. It's that simple. All right, man. We have busted now. We've almost gone all the way up until lock for tomorrow's shows or tomorrow's games.
Yeah, get us out of here, Coach. What are we doing? These poor people. Dude.
Awesome, man. Well, crush it tomorrow, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for this long 11-game Hoopball NBA DFS show. For my man Mike Apotria and for our other pros, Andrew and Miles, I am Coach. We will catch you again tomorrow. I think it's already tomorrow, as we look to crush it in the NBA DFS.
Good luck, guys.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.